how am I doing on time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes left. With respect to the question on Libya and then Côte d'Ivoire as a case in point, you know, the history of our continental organization, firstly, must be appreciated. This year, 2013, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Organization for African Unity. And this is a milestone that we are using to reflect upon the achievements of our organization over the past 50 years and to see what we want to do over the next 50 years. It is the first time our continent is undertaking such a mammoth task. And our main mandate with the Organization of African Unity was to free Africa from colonialism and apartheid. So from 1963, at a political level, at a liberation level, the Organization of African Unity concentrated all of its efforts and resources on fighting for independence. In 1994, the mandate was completed. South Africa was no longer under an apartheid regime. We were a democratic country. And the OAU also took cognizance of the impact of the fall of the Berlin Wall and subsequent international developments. And so we started to have an internal debate on the relevance of the Organization of African Unity to the unfolding and developing international political and economic situation. And during this time, we went through a process of transforming the OAU into the AU, the African Union. Firstly, because we had achieved what the OAU's mandate had been, and secondly, we had to be alive to the reality that was taking place. So after about 4 years of negotiations, the heads of states in 2002 launched the African Union. So the African Union became a new organization. It reinvented itself. It had a new mandate. It was working on new programs and projects that it had developed for the socio-economic development of Africa. And at this stage, if you may be aware, we had a program called NEPAD, the New Partnership for Africa's Development. And this was developed and homegrown amongst Africans, and it was accepted by the United Nations and endorsed in 2002. And part of this program was an aspect which dealt with governance, democracy, human rights on the African continent. And the structure that was created was called the African Peer Review Mechanism, APRM. Under this review mechanism, it was a voluntary membership of this mechanism. African leaders who subscribed to the principles espoused there would evaluate themselves and assess themselves and criticize themselves and offer proposals on how to improve on their governance, democracy, human rights records. Up to today, out of the 55 countries, we have about 36 who have volunteered to be part of it. So the commitment is there. The African Union also, since 2006, worked on a charter for democracy, elections, and governance that would form the policy framework for countries to host elections. There are certain principles, there are certain standards to be observed, there are certain structures to be in place, the financing, the independence, the autonomy of the institutions that will oversee elections, etc. And so the African Union has got at its commission, at the headquarters in Addis Ababa, a Department of Political Affairs. We have a Commissioner for Political Affairs, under whom all of these issues reside. And we have election observer officials who go out from our various member states' parliaments, from our various electoral management bodies, as well as experts from our headquarters. Now, the election that our friend speaks of took place as the African Union was being launched. We are talking about the same time frame. However, it must be said that the African Union was not silent in this matter. The African Union was seized of this matter for a long period of time. And I recall that the former president of South Africa had been mandated by the African Union, President Thabo Mbeki, to go and try and mediate and find a solution in Côte d'Ivoire between the various factions. There was Soro there, if I recall correctly, there was Gbagbo, there was the Ouattara factor, and Côte d'Ivoire could have been a different story. It could have been different. And once again, history has a tendency of repeating itself, and people make the same mistakes over and over. A previous president of the country across the border then said, "This is our backyard.
Yes.
You do not understand it. You do not know it. So get out." You hear the arrogance in that. It came from across the border.
Yeah.
Not by the one who just lost office, his predecessor, President Chirac. This is our backyard. Can you be so arrogant about having been a colonial power that destroyed people's lives and countries and livelihoods and culture? And you come back and you say it's your backyard? External interference. Neocolonialism. That is where the complication came. Because if a president does not report to the capital next door, that president is removed from power. There is a pattern. Many of you will recall, I will close now. Many of you will recall Haiti. Haiti was about to celebrate its 200th year of independence. The first independent black state in the world was Haiti. Africa was working closely with Haiti because Haiti and Haitians are from the African diaspora. The president at that time was Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And President Aristide no longer wanted to be close to the former colonial master. He was being too independent. So, we all know the circumstances under which he was removed from office and had to flee Haiti. So, that is one instance. Côte d'Ivoire is another instance. President Gbagbo was not willing to be influenced by the former colonial power. And what happened? At all costs, he had to be removed and replaced. Madagascar, President Ravalomanana wanted to be an independent president of his country. And what happened? He was removed. We know the history of certain former colonial powers when it comes to mercenaries overthrowing elected governments, destabilizing countries. Yet these are the ones who lecture us on human rights, democracy, and governance. The very same. So, my friend, Côte d'Ivoire, unfortunately, you'll have to ask Paris.
Thank you.